Good afternoon. It's exactly noon. On April 1st, 2021, the matter about which I speak now is a very serious matter. I am reviewing some information. At some point in time, as I've said before, I've made inventories of things that I have acquired in various capacities. I'm actually on a break to make an emergency message concerning some information that's come to light. On March 8th of 2021, there was scheduled to be a meeting of a congressional committee to discuss, among other things, a piece of, at the time, pending legislation concerning background checks regarding firearms. However, I read the bills, and it's about more than that. I found this the day before, and I took what would have been executive action, declaring that the meeting should be shut down and that there should be other activities engaged, up to and including actions regarding the individual members of the committee, and that the Capitol grounds should not have been permitted to be used for such an event. My specific concern had to do with the fact that the bills of question concerned composition of and compilation of inventories on firearms, and that there were constitutional implications that needed to be considered before there was any effort to use that day specifically in regards to considerations of matters related to inventories on firearms, much less the other implications having to do with security background checks that have not been addressed in over 10 years, including alleged security background checks that have been part of abusive processes that were put into effect under executive order, as well as failure to preclude or prevent against their abuse by the legislature or the judicial branch. Today in my inventory, I found something that would have been entered as evidence. The intention in acquiring it was to enter it as evidence. It did not come to my attention specifically what the implications were until today. March 8th, 2020. The initial report is large black bag found at donation bin for Children's Hospital. Upon initial examination, found 3 to 4 pairs of, listing the clothes. Then there was another black bag that was on the corner in front of a transportation stop. It had been exposed to the weather elements. My understanding is the reason that these were acquired in the manner they were on that day is because that morning I had an indication that someone threw out the children. And when I went around the area, I found these bags. And my understanding is that they threw out the children, meaning they were setting into effect some form of financial process having to do with alleged health care for children. See, this is part of how this works. How conscious and cognizant the actual individuals that make these clothing donations at the time they do are, I don't know. But it makes a big difference when you go on site and get a receipt for your donation than when you just do a dump at one of these bins out here at a specific point in time, including if you don't even make it in the box. That's why I took these. Now I have another picture I've just entered into evidence of where all these items are. They were inventoried, they were put aside, specifically the children's items. And I have here a inventory of all of the items I found. All of the items I found exactly 1 year before that alleged committee meeting. Right here. And then there was some separate items that were found. These all were found exactly 1 year before that committee meeting, and I knew at the time I found them. I almost cried that day, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know exactly what it meant in a literal, explicit sense, but the implication was that it was supposed to be a fatal dump. Now, some of these things are that literal, and some of them have another expression. A short time ago, within the last 3 months, I acquired information. The city of Dallas has access to an inventory of all properties that are allowed to be registered as boarding houses. Right here, 48, 55, 75. I have nearly 100 rooms in boarding houses just in one section of the city of Dallas. These rooms, some of them, include the capacity to handle more than one person, If there is an emergency need, you have all the resources you need right now. Any of these alleged centers that have any open rooms or any of these other properties that are open and vacant can be immediately converted in order to qualify as a temporary boarding house, including a temporary boarding house that can be put through a process whereby the appropriate personnel are acquired in order to assure safety and can be put into whatever is needed in order to assure and prevent and preclude against anything connected to any sort of other kinds of crime that may be intended at this time. You have everything you need already to do this correctly. And you now know this was 100% premeditated. This is why I was working on a 21-day deadline as opposed to the 14-day effort to try to compel me to give a bribe in what is some of the most heinous crime that one can possibly imagine. Now, I'm pretty sure that at this point, everybody understands the ramifications and can move expeditiously. If you fail to, you have already identified yourself. It's 12:07 p.m. on April 1st, 2021.